Hello friends, and welcome to another unboxing here on Gathering Information. I am Step, and I am going to be taking you through my pre-release pool for Ixalan. The pre-release was this past weekend. I went on the Saturday. We had 80 people, and it was a whole lot of fun. As you can see, the pre-release packs have gone back to the Shadows over Innistrad style with Ixalan art. Looks like a sea map of the seas or whatever. Got a compass inside there. One of these fancy dice with a spin down with the compass. Can we get a close up? Can we actually focus? There we go. We focused on the compass. Woo! And a note. Hidden at the heart of Ixalan lies Orazca, the lost city of gold. Many will seek it, few will find it. Whosoever claims it will attain power beyond imagination. And I believe the power that they're going to claim is the power to leave this stinking plane in their dust, because as if you followed any of the story for Ixalan, people who planeswalk here can't escape. It's like Hotel California, which is now going to be my standard deck. So I'll have to figure out how that's going to work. But in the meantime, on the other side of this piece of paper, building a sealed deck. Most successful sealed decks have exactly 40 cards, including 17 to 18 basic lands. You should try to include 15 to 18 creatures and 5 to 8 non-creature spells. Tips for choosing your creatures and other spells. You feature tribes, blah, blah, blah. Creatures cost 2 to 6 will be good. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's pretty good advice for the beginners who might come out to a pre-release. I don't know if they actually look at these things. They should, because I always do. I always love the little story elements they add to the front side. But let's get into the pool itself. Cool. So, I had, you know what, I'm just going to fan this out on the table and then we can have a look at it. Okay, looking at the pool, you might notice that there's a little bit of a problem with there not being a whole lot of creatures, especially in white. It was not a great pool. It was kind of awkward, to tell you the truth, trying to build, especially when I was right across from hero of the Knowledge Pool podcast for this week, Laura, who managed to open a Jace and not play it. So, a pack foil Jace and not play it. So, yeah. Anyway, this pool, while not great, still had some potential. I looked at black because it was obviously the deepest creature-wise, but the problem is that most of these creatures stink. Green also was sort of, it has bodies, which is good, but it didn't have anything impressive, and white was really not impressing me much, except for the rares. And I'm going to grab those now. Ooh, fancy cutlass in the map there. So, I will show you the rares. We have Legion's Landing, which, while not a creature, I count as a creature because it's a 1-drop, 1/1 with lifelink. Not great on its own, but if you transform it, you can make a 1/1 for 3 mana anytime you want. So I definitely wanted to try to play that because it looked like good value. I also had Priest of the Waking Sun, which you could go and tutor up a dinosaur with. If you have a good dinosaur, this might be good. I did end up running it in one of the decks that you're going to see, mostly because it was a 1-drop, and you'll see why in a moment. I had Dire Fleet Ravager for a 4/4 Menace Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, each player loses a third of his or her life rounded up. I like this card a lot. I wish I could have played it, but black just wasn't where I needed to go. It wasn't that there weren't any good cards, it was that there weren't enough good cards and at the right curve. I needed some sort of... I want something to do every turn, and black just didn't have that. I did have another rare, though, Ruin Raider, which is a Bob. 2 and a black for a 3/2 with Raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attacked with a creature this turn, reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. So again, I would have loved to play this, but I just didn't feel like there was a deck there. Next up, I had 2 green rares, which made green a little more, pulled me a little more. I had Emperor's Vanguard, which again is very good. My rares were very good. It's a 4/3 for 4 that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it explores. So that would have helped fix my mana if I wanted to go 3 colors, but I had no fixing otherwise. Like, I have this Unknown Shores and that's it. So I didn't feel like that was enough, but it's a playable if you play green anyway. And then finally, Verdant Sun's Avatar. 5 green for a dinosaur avatar. It's a 5/5, and whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under my control, I gain life equal to that creature's toughness. I did play this in one of my decks, but I never saw it. I got it in hand, but I never actually got to cast it, which made me super sad. Finally, my promo was Vance's Blasting Cannons. Now, this is an exciting card that I wanted to play with. It's 3 and a red for a legendary enchantment at rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast that card this turn. Whenever you cast your 3rd spell in a turn, you may transform Vance's Blasting Cannons. And this is the reason that I ended up running Priest of the Waking Sun, because I wanted to be able to flip it, because it flips into Spitfire Bastion, which is a legendary land that taps to add red to your mana pool, or you can pay 2 and a red and tap it to have it deal 3 damage to target creature or player. And I thought that that would be a good way to close out games, even in an aggressive deck, which is what you're going to need to be able to flip it. So that's the pool. There's definitely some exciting stuff, especially at rare, but it was awkward no matter which color, 2 colors I ended up pairing, and I didn't have any fixing to blend 3 colors together. Like, I would have loved to go Niosaurs, or even Naya Vampires, but there just wasn't, or maybe Mardu Vampires. But with no fixing and not enough Explore, there was no way. So I did end up in 2 separate decks, and I'll explain how I did with each of them as I show you. So let's go on to deck number 1. So this was my first deck that I put together. I put together all of the decks to look at them, but this is the first one I played. I played this for 2 rounds, and then I swapped out to something else that I will show you in a moment. But here, there was some strength to this deck in that it could really go ham. It could get out really fast. I have 3 playable 1-drops and 3 1-drop, or 2 1-drop removal spells on a combat trick. I have 3 good 2-drops. I'm counting Otepec Huntmaster as a good 2-drop because it helps make my my top end cheaper. But like, if I could go Legion's Landing into Nest Robber into Queen's Commission, then I'm swinging, and I immediately turn Legion's Landing into a land. So not only is that ramping me into my top end, but I can also then make more of these vampires, which were quite handy. The reason that I ended up swapping out of this deck was that everyone was playing red-green, and everyone seemed to have the, the red-green uncommon that deals 1 damage to each creature when it enters the battlefield. So that was almost wiping my board every single time. And then I somehow managed usually to creep back into the game by dropping my bigger dinosaurs, because Otepec Huntmaster would stay around, and with Vance's blasting cannons, I was drawing extra cards, so that was good. There's not a lot of card draw in red and white, so it's handy for that. Unfriendly Fire was really, really good, and I was kind of hoping that I'd get the Bellowing Aegisaur with, like, I don't know, dual shot, and be able to make all my 1/1 lifelink vampires into 2/2 lifelink vampires, and like a board of 5 2/2s with lifelink that isn't bad, especially if you bring in... That's right, there's something missing here. I also had... What was it? Rallying Roar. This was also in the deck, so how would that have looked? I probably was running 1 less land in this deck. Yeah, that looks better. Because again, if I could suddenly swing with 3 3s with lifelink, that can win games there. I went 1-1 with this deck and then swapped it out because I was tired of having my board wiped. But it was... Every game I played with this deck felt like I was uneasy the whole time. I just knew that I had to win fast or not at all. And as it turns out, that wasn't actually true, because I ended up going late and just getting value out of Vance's blasting cannons and my couple of big flyers and winning games that way. But it just didn't feel good to have to rely on my opponent stumbling. So I reevaluated after round 2 and ended up in a separate deck, which we'll go to now. Oh, one more thing that I should mention is that with the 6 1-drop spells and 4 2-drop spells, I was planning on transforming Vance's blasting cannons and using this to kill my opponent, but it never actually happened. The one game where I got it to work, I was just going to kill them with damage, with creatures anyway. So, I don't know. I think it's a good card, but it's a little awkward. Anyway, let's see deck number 2. So this is the deck that I finally ended up with. Red-green was very, very popular at our pre-release. I played against 4 red-green decks and a red-blue deck and a green-white deck. So red and green seem to be the sealed colors of choice in this format. My deck was kind of mediocre. I had a couple of powerful rares, but mostly I just got there on skill and luck in playing the actual games. I was running 17 land, 23 spells. This is after round 2. I thought about going 16 land and running 2 of these Colossal Dreadmaws, but I wasn't that courageous, even though I had the Vance's Blasting Cannons and the things that made my dinosaurs cheaper. Maybe I could have, but I didn't have enough Explore for me to be sure of getting my lands. The Emperor's Vanguard is one of the only things I have with Explore, and it's very good. It's it explores every turn, and I got this up to like a 6/5 before my opponent eventually killed it, or it just traded for something relevant, and it was very useful. The other thing that I saw a lot of and was very useful was the Spike-tail Ceratops. It's really just a 4/4 for 5, but in sealed that's fine. Like, again, it's not exciting, but it's fine. I never did see my Verdant Sun's Avatar. I would have liked to, I mean, I saw it in hand a few times, but I never actually got to play it. However, Vance's Blasting Cannons I did get, and it did give me some real card advantage. Come on, there we go. It did give me some real card advantage, and I flipped it once to kill the opponent, but mostly it's just there to give me good card advantage. Unfriendly Fire is very good. Jungle Delver, surprise, surprise, it's good in sealed. I put up to 3 counters on it in one game, and that was fine. Blossom Dryad is good for ramp, and Dual Shot was surprisingly bad in sealed. But you think about it, if everyone's playing red-green, this isn't going to kill stuff. Now in draft, I think it's going to be great, but in sealed, I found myself wanting to sideboard it out. So treat that as you will. This deck led me to, because I played it in 4 rounds, a 3-1 record in those 4 rounds, so that's exciting. I went 4-2 overall for the day, and got just squeaked into the top 16 of 80 people at our pre-release. So that was exciting. I hope you all had fun at yours. Please comment down below with how you did and what you were playing. And yeah, see you next time.